DJ Dewey Rock on the track.
Welcome to Immerse Podcast 360. I'm your host, Maserati. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. And do we have a special episode of Beyond the Game for you? We have a legendary Sandlot, all-time favorite baseball player here in the Strop City. Every conversation, whether it be in youth, high school, or even college, his name comes up as being one of the great. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. We want to thank you for all the likes, shares, and subscriptions on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We want to give a special shout out to Bracell Family Insurance for hosting Immerse 360 today here at Bracell Insurance Agency. And guys, I just want to tell you, I'm so excited for the young man that we have on. He is a native of the neighborhood of Elm Street, where you have a long list of great ballers that come out of there. He's from the class of Barstow High School, 1990, in the late 80s, in the early 90s. He was a prodigy where he got a scholarship to Alcorn State University, where a rotator cuff would destroy his destiny to be a Major League Baseball player. We give you none other than Strop City's finest. He's in the building. This is being brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic needs of love, learn, live, and laugh. Here he is, y'all. Sandlot baller all times, Mr. Joe Roy Lee Jackson is in the building. How you doing, my man?
What's going down, my brother? How's everything going? Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're great to have you on, bro. Kind of share with the people what's been up with you and how you doing, Doc.
I can't complain. Blessed. Living in Omaha, Nebraska now. Born and raised in Barstow, Louisiana.
You know, how is it if people want to hear your voice, man? I'm just so excited to have you. How is it knowing that for the last 30 plus years, your name is brought up in every conversation when it comes to playing baseball here in Strop City and the surrounding areas?
It's a blessing to be brought up in amongst the greatest of Barstow, because there's a lot that came before me and after me. I'm just grateful and humble to be mentioned among the greatest. That's all I can say about that. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that came before me that I looked up to as well.
Right. You know, coming from the Elm neighborhood, and I see they must claim you across the ditch on Lutland and all those places. Everybody wanted to claim you coming up during your prodigy years as a youth. Who are some of the guys that you looked up to that kept you inspired to want to pursue the game of baseball at the level you did?
I grew up across the ditch. It was like Dale Hatfield, Puff Lee, better known Suffragette Lee. He's known as Puff, Dale Hatfield, a couple older guys. They played my position. So pitching was the ones that I really looked up to.
Right. You know, you're a phenomenal pitcher, you know, and you look back over things, Roy, being that you were a legend here. Like I say, people, this guy had the talent and the gift. For all you young people that's out there listening, this is the guy they talk about when they say Roy Lee Jackson. And if he was an old Negro player, it would be Joe Roy Lee Jackson, because he brung it harder than Joe Jackson with the Jackson 5. Roy, we know that, you know, you're a man of, not a man of many words, but just name a few guys across the Elm and across the ditch that maybe, you know, you will give some homage to for really molding your game.
You know, I got older cousins such as across the ditch, like Dale Hatfield's one of them. You know, the one that's really underrated was my boy D. Mays, man. He was one of the greatest that played the game of baseball. He hold one of the home run records over in the Dixie Youth League in Carter Park, but he get no respect for that because, like, growing up in the streets and like the way the system was set up, he didn't get the respect he deserved. That's number one. Look it up. He got one of the home run records over in the Carter Park. And like you say, a lot of them grew across the ditch, like Baby John Glosson. We all grew up in the neighborhood, played in the field, across the ditch. That was one thing about the athletes. We was all accessible. We all ate together, played together.
Right, and that's something that's remarkable about back then when we played the game when we were youth compared to playing the game now. We look back on it, and there was a lot of great guys that came before us. But in your era, you look at it, who were and you look back on it. How did you actually fall in love with the game of baseball? Because blacks in baseball, we did it around here back then, but how did you actually fall in love with that game, Joe?
I say backyard baseball, playing with the older cousins, all the big homies, because it was like a big deal back in the day when everybody got together and played baseball in the field. The older OGs come out and watch it on. It was motivation, like you say, just playing in the backyard, cross the ditch and cross air. We had a field cross air, and we played cross the ditch we played in. Miss Davis Field. Thanks for letting us use the field over there, Miss Davis. And like you say, cross the ditch. We used to play cross the ditch all the time and cross air.
Right. Now, who were your favorite baseball players coming up as a kid? And we're going to take an intermission and jump back in with you. But who were some of your favorite players as a kid? Because, guys, we really played the game of baseball around here. I know we look at the glory years with football, but if you were considered a true athlete, a lot of those older names that you guys just heard on the Aaron Dietrich show, these guys played the game of baseball. Who were some of your favorite players, Roy?
On a professional level or just in the hood?
Professional level. We'll come back to the hood. On the professional level.
Yeah, professional. I grew up loving the Mets. I was a Dwight Gooden fan all the way. My cousin used to call me Little Oil Can Boy. James Green, he used to call me Little Dennis Oil Can Boy when I was pitching. So I looked up to a lot of those black pitchers because you didn't see a lot of them on TV at the time and when we were growing up. So when you saw a black pitcher, I gravitated toward that. Doc Gooden was one of the ones I looked up to, and hitting that ball was Dale Strawberry because like you say, I'm a pitcher / hitter. And I would say a Mets fan growing up.
Right, and and a lot of us was Met fans. Mookie Wilson, Darryl Strawberry,
yes.
Like you said, Dwight Gooden. And that's the thing that we want to touch in and talk to you about, Roy, being one of the phenomenal, most outstanding athletes, not just baseball. You're a true athlete. When we come back from this intermission, I want you to take us back in time and what was going through the mind of young Roy Lee Jackson with the pressure that the community and the expectations they had on you when you were young. We'll be right back with legendary Sandlot baller himself. He's in the building. We got him on the phone, rather. It's Mr. Baseball All Time, Roy Lee Jackson, when we return after this intermission.
Immerse 360 Podcast focuses on uplifting rural and urban areas in dire conditions with no solutions by shedding light on pioneers, athletes, and political figures who have made an impression on Northeast Louisiana and surrounding areas. Immerse understands the social and civic needs to love, learn, live, and laugh. So, tap in every Sunday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. on all social networks and platforms. Always remember, Immerse 360.
Welcome back. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Stepping Stones LLC of Jonesboro, Louisiana, Kick Thrones here in Strop City, Louisiana, and Northeast Louisiana Counseling. And shout out to Morehouse Community Development for the great job you guys did on yesterday at the West Fest. We're still here, one of the best to represent Strop City when it comes to baseball. Legendary Sandlot and High School and Park and Recreation, Mr. Roy Lee Jackson is still here with us at Immerse 360. Before we went to intermission, Mr. Jackson, you were giving a briefing of the guys in the major leagues you looked up. But let's go back to the neighborhood. You come from a long list of great legends. Kind of share with us some of those guys that you remember most that were interesting to you.
It's hard to say right now. I know Bill Brown was a great player. Fifi, like I said, a lot of nicknames. Ben Stevenson, a lot of old guys that played baseball. Older cousin played softball. Derry Green. Couldn't wait to go watch them play in Forest Park. It's just too many to name. Just put it on point. There's so many just can be forgotten at any time.
Right, and like we say when they tried to put the list together the other day in football with the Aaron Dietrich live show, they came up with the top 11. It was a difficult task, especially when you talk about the history of not just basketball, but Morehouse Parish, the Lou Brocks, and the people we had before us that we knew about coming up. You know what I mean?
Yes, much further there. That's true.
So, what was the most challenging thing for you? People had high expectations on you. Looking back on your career, what was the most challenging for young Roy Lee Jackson?
Trying to be the best at what I was doing at the time. Make sure them grades was right to make me eligible, but still be playing. Academics was the most challenging, like you say, because it go way back to that Proposition 48. To even get in college, you had to make like a certain number on the ACT test. So growing up, like you say, academics. The baseball was no effort. It was effortless for me to just play baseball. It was the academic parts for me. What's the challenge?
Right. And people, like I said, had high expectations on you to go to the next level. Looking back at it and knowing what you know now, what would young Roy Lee do different knowing what you know now?
Try to get into more baseball training camps because it wasn't even accessible to us at the time. Because like you say, a lot of people get their advantage by going to camps. And being in the inner city, like you say, we don't have that advantage that other kids have. If you got a kid that got potential, I will advise you right now to get them into a camp or something other than just high school, because some of them coaches don't have your kid best interest at heart.
Right, most definitely. And knowing now, you may have youngsters, your grandboys. How are you molding them when it comes to athletics and making sure they're not overwhelmed? And we're going to get into your injury, and we're going to probably talk about some possible things that may have taken place when we were young from improper training that caused your injury. But what are you doing to prevent what happened to you with the youth now today?
You say get them in shape and working out, because like you say, most of the time the pitchers weren't allowed to work out. We just ran. They didn't want us to lift no weights, no cardio, none of that. All we did was just run. The pitchers didn't do no weightlifting at all. And I think that was detrimental to a lot of people. Getting your body in shape is the most important thing.
Right. And it's hard, let's go and look at all the accolades you had coming out of high school. You was one of the top pitchers in Northeast Louisiana ever since you was about 10 years old. It's been about Roy Lee Jackson. Let's talk about that conditioning and your rotator cuff injury once you got to Alcorn State that kind of put a demise to everything and crumbled right before the community eyes. Do you think from them pitching you so much through your youth and through high school without the conditioning caused you to, tear up your rotator cuff?
It's a separate injury because I was playing shortstop when it happened. I was a Proposition 48. I did not get a scholarship to Alcorn. I was a Proposition 48 due to the ACT score. They changed that in 1990. That was another way to keep a lot of black kids out of 4-year colleges. They want you to go to a junior college. So 1990 was the year of the Proposition 48. Look it up. If you didn't make higher than 18 on ACT test, you couldn't play in a 4-year college. My first year there, I was going to be a redshirt freshman. So me and Puff, Fred Lee, we were both pitching against each other at Alcorn State in practice. And I also was going to shortstop after I got done pitching. Don't too many freshmen do that. So when I was playing shortstop, I was going for a shallow fly ball. The outfielder never called me off, and I dove for it, and his knee hit me in my shoulder. And after that, it was done.
Wow. And a lot of people never really know what happened to you. We have expectations. You wonder where people are and what they're doing. You look back on it, Do you really honestly think if that hadn't happened, where would you be right now when it comes to Major League Baseball? Because I know you had the talent. How do Roy Lee feel about if that hadn't happened, where he would be right now when it comes to professional baseball?
Like I say, it's gonna go all the way back to my freshman year. I'm the number one pitcher, and I'm hitting. I had the highest batting title my senior year. I think I was batting like 367. So if you're doing all that as a freshman, you got all these coaches around you and all that. The only time I took the ACT test was my senior year. I never heard of the ACT test. I didn't know all that I needed a certain score. They should have had me taking the ACT test at the freshman every year. That's the difference. Then my selection to go to a different college would have been a whole different level. Any other than college would have been open to me if the ACT test would have been higher. So it's all about the system. They started that in 1990. Look it up, Proposition 48.
Right, I'm aware of it. I just didn't really know you was a Proposition 48. And I think that crippled a lot of guys during your era. Do you agree?
Yes, that's the whole system that's set a lot of black kids from going to 4-year colleges. You don't look at it at the time, but once your third eye open up, you look back and look at it. It was another way to keep a lot of black kids out of 4-year and major D1 colleges. They wanted us to go to JUCOs, junior colleges. Those don't know junior colleges.
And that's what I wanted to get into with you about Roy. Now we look at Bastrop, like I say, with football, with the glory years, the championships and of that nature, the opportunity that was there for those guys in these latter years compared to when you guys were there. Kind of share with us, how do you look at the game of baseball and high school sports as a whole compared to your era?
Most of the time, you just depend on your coach really to put you in the game, because if they not on your team, you'll never receive none of the letters that you get. Now you can make your own reel today with all this social media stuff. Back in my day, you had to depend on your coach to give you the letter and let you know the college is interested in you. And a lot of them letters got found in coaches' desks that they never gave to none of the players because they didn't have a good relationship with them players. But today's students, they can set their own little reel up with all this technology. They can send off to colleges. They can make their own little films now. That's the difference between today, technology.
Yes, and we can all agree. Parents, this is a life lesson right here we're learning. You can't depend on the coaches, and our parents didn't know that back then. They solely depended on the coaches. You go to school, do what the teachers say. But parents, we're here to tell you that you have to be involved. You need to take pictures. You need to film. You need to document. Make sure you're keeping the stats, because it's a competition out here now. When we came up, it's off raw talent. As you see, those guys that had that raw talent playing that game of baseball, which was called America Pastime, it wasn't as easy for us as it is for you guys now. We're going to take a short intermission, and when we come back, Mr. Jackson, we want to continue about your thoughts on the game of baseball and how you view blacks in baseball now compared to the times when we were playing as youth. We'll be right back with Sandlot Ball of all time in Strop City. If you say baseball, they're going to bring up his name. It's Roy Lee Jackson when we return after this intermission.
DJ Dewey rock on the track. DJ Dewey rock on the track.
Welcome back. This portion of this episode is being brought to you by Stardom Networks, one of our Facebook supporters, and shout out to sober motivation for all the love that you guys give us from sharing our content throughout social media. Hey, we're still here with Strop City Sandlot legendary baseball player, and some gonna say all time, Mr. Roy Lee Jackson. Mr. Jackson, before we went to intermission, you was giving us a rundown on we're going to say the politics and a little racism. We know where we are here in Morehouse Parish and Bastrop. And now we understand what happened to the Jimmy Turners, to the Roy Lee Jacksons, to the Dale Hatfields. The system was not designed to cater to you guys to move to the next level. Kind of give us a briefing on how you look at the game of baseball as you view blacks in baseball today.
Like I say, most blacks you see in baseball now, they from mostly from another country, Dominican Republic. Back in the day, you used to see some blacks, like you say, Aussies, you know what I'm saying? But now they recruit from other countries now. I don't know if it's a money thing. I don't know if it's the pay, but see, like you see less and less blacks in the NFL, in the major leagues at this time today.
Yeah, Roy, and don't get me wrong. We had Dominicans and Venezuelans in the old Negro League, so it's nothing new about them playing the game with us. I think what has happened is they challenged our kids to go towards football and basketball because, listen to the name of baseball, it's called America's pastime. And when they was writing these laws and statutes, when they said America, we weren't always included in the early years. Do you kind of agree that they're challenging these kids towards more football and basketball, more football than basketball now?
That's true. I think it's more going toward football and basketball. But most people don't realize the ease of money in baseball. Your body ain't get hurt as much. You play a lot of games, but you get more pay.
Yeah, and that's something, Roy, that even when we were kids, no one explained to us about contracts and about guaranteed money and things of that nature. We didn't know that baseball was the only sport, especially when we was kids, that was guaranteed money coming out of high school. And I think that's the thing that kids are missing about the game of baseball. We had some guys, man, that went on to play to Alabama and LSU. I'm just going to still throw a name out there, Ruben Rounder. Even today, I think Ruben Rounder, bro, you never got a chance to see him play, Roy, but he was one of those guys, bro, that we would have picked every time if we were playing in the yard.
Ruben Rounder, yeah, I heard his name before, but I didn't, like you said, that was after my time. He was that good, huh?
I think if Ruben, once his NFL career was over with, I still think he was a first round baseball player, bro. That's how good he was at a 6'4" shortstop.
Yeah, you say that name, that Clyde Road name come up too. I heard a lot about my guys Clyde across the ditch.
Yeah, Claude. I mean, the guys, bro, that you have left impression on, Roy, you would be proud of them. Even, I'll say these guys in their late 30s, they know about the legacy of Roy Lee Jackson. And
we got to get some more legacy out of the bastard, man. Cause we need to get that boys club back going because the boys club was gone before my era. Everybody that graduated like after 85, we never got to see the boys club. That's another thing that affect the neighborhood. You might have got one of the number one boxers in the neighborhood. You'll never even know it. Because a lot of the older guys had access to the boys club. The ones that was graduated 85 and below. But after that, the boys club was gone when I graduated. No access to the boys club. So,
and we have one, and I think we're working on getting a location for it. The best location, but nothing has pretty much changed, Roy, since you've been gone. It's still a lot of politics over the best athletes, tearing and pulling on the parents to transfer. See, the portal of high school, they talk about college, but it's a portal in high school that I think that the National Federation of High School needs to put some more stipulations on so these kids will stay in their respective communities. But, before we let you go, Roy, we always like to ask our guests, looking through a glass, I know you hear things about both of your neighborhoods that you played street ball in and went on to Bastrop and then the Alcorn State. But the things that you're hearing about the community, and I know you're very conscious of what's going on. Now I spoke to you, and you're on another level. What would you like to share with Strop City from the heart of Roy Lee Jackson?
He said, I've been back to visit plenty of times. I know there's a lot of killing going on in the neighborhood. I done lost family members and friends to community violence. It's just like we just got to start loving on one another, because it's hard to love somebody, to hurt somebody that you love and respect. On that level, the city need help. I know, cross the ditch and cross, because like you say, the kids ain't got nothing to do these days. The swimming pool's closed. Dawson Park been messed up for how long? You can't fix a pool, or you can go get a GoFundMe. You can get that going in a week. Kids ain't got nothing to do positive. They gonna find something negative to do. Because it's up to us as a community. I just hate I don't live there no more. Like you say, from a distance, I see, I hear it.
And the things that you hear, knowing that you had the opportunity to thrive in little old Bastrop, you was a lot of that opportunity, man. Everybody supported Roy Lee Jackson, the old, the young, and the youth. You know, how does that make you feel, and how do you feel when you come home and see the downtroddenness here in Strop City?
It's sad to see, but like you say, I love my city. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's a product of their environment. You know, some people, like you say, have no sources to do what they're doing. But like you say, if you're in a position to make it better, we need to start doing it and stop just talking about it and put it to action. That's go for all sides. Forest, it ain't no size. We all as one when it come to our city. Even if it seems like they say the police, like you say, we're getting less and less polices, because, like you say, Bastrop used to be the thing that was back in the day. Now we getting like Hollister, Maria. We used to talk about them having one police officer, two police officers. Now Bastrop getting down to like 3 or 4 polices after a certain hours. They know the police is off work for the city.
Right, and most definitely, man, and I can feel the love that you still have for the city, and I know that you love the city of Bastrop and the things that it done for you. Before we let you go, man, one last word, anything you'd like to tell the youth out here in Strop City from legendary Roy Lee Jackson?
Stay out the system, because instead of building all these penitentiaries, instead of making money off that free labor, and don't be no free slave. That's all I can say. Keep your third eye open. Much love to all my people.
Most definitely, brother, and we appreciate you stopping through and giving us those words of wisdom and sharing the story of what really happened with the career and the legacy of the legendary Roy Lee Jackson. Hey, we want to thank you, brother, and we love you. Hopefully we get you back real soon and we can talk a little more baseball. It's a lot of guys dying to talk to you. They want to do an open forum with you and really get your insights about how you feel about the game of baseball today, and hopefully we can get you back real soon.
That sounds like something positive. We can also talk about how we can get this community going, too, on a positive level. We're going to get that talk going on as well, my brother.
Most definitely, bro. And you take care of yourself, man, and we appreciate you coming through. And that has been the story and the legacy of the legendary Sandlot and favorite all-time baseball player in the last 30-plus years in Strop City. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. This has been brought to you by Involved Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic needs of love, learn, live, and laugh. Until next time, y'all get involved. Y'all stay encouraged. And most of all, y'all stay immersed. We out of this thing.
Head to the sky. I know you thought it was gone, but I made it through the fire. Turned your back on me, homie, and it was such a surprise. But the struggle out here, everybody just trying to get by. Mama told me a long time ago, keep my grass cut low, so I can see these snakes when they approaching my door. In this game, I seen a lot of soldiers sell their soul for the bag, and I seen a lot of close friends fall out behind ass. That's why I keep my circle tight. family over everything. Family over everything. Told at a young age, don't be scared of letting us hang. Man, this law of attraction got me moving how I move. And along the way, some you win, some you lose. Yeah, life is lesson. Truth had it to an innocent child. These streets done got real crazy. These youngsters buck wild. Not to mention, cops killing brothers for fun. Revolutionary prepare from the dough. The chosen one is DJ.